Here we are today. Right now is March 23rd. We are about a week in of this shutdown, this COVID-19 crisis that we're all experiencing. Um, this is an interview in the Keep Boone Healthy series. My name's Matt Powell. I'm speaking here with Scott Elliott. He's the superintendent of schools for Watauga County. And gosh, you've got a lot going on right now, Scott. So I know a lot of people have been hearing messages from the school, and you even just announced some big news today. So tell us what's going on and what are some things that the community is probably interested in.
Yeah. Hey, Matt. Thank you for having me on. So, yeah, a lot has happened in just the last week. This is something that we've been watching for, I don't know, it seems like 6 or 8 weeks now. And wondering if and to what extent it was going to affect us here locally. But things accelerated very quickly by the end of last week. Lots of concern from parents, lots of concern from us about where this was headed, and in trying to make the decision about whether or not we should close our schools here locally, working with local health department and state DHHS. I was grateful that the governor went ahead and made the decision over last weekend, a week ago, to go ahead and close schools statewide. The initial announcement was that schools would be closed for 2 weeks, and as you just mentioned, the Governor Cooper had a press conference today where he extended that school closure to at least May the 15th. So that is a huge um, change for us, but it does give us some clarity actually about moving forward, and how long we're in this for and the things that we need to be doing. We still have some questions that we do need to have some answers from the state about, and I think those are coming over the next few days. But a lot's been going on for sure.
Do you mind me asking what some of those unanswered questions still are that you have?
Yeah, we have a lot of unanswered questions, and people have been asking us about things like graduation, or even graduation requirements for seniors who had not yet fulfilled all of their graduation requirements. What about those college, university, or community college classes that high school seniors were taking? Will they continue? Some of those courses have been moved to online, some of them haven't. What kind of grades will students get this year? And will there be the introduction of new course material or new instruction with new content from our teachers? Or will we continue in a supplementing enrichment kind of mode? When we find out some policy decisions from the State Board of Education around grading, instructional hours, and the school calendar, then we can begin to make some of those decisions locally about how that is going to play out. Um, Fortunately, I have been able to give some input directly to the Department of Public Instruction and the governor's office, and I represent superintendents in our region on our professional association board of directors. We have created a policy document that we gave to the legislature and the state board at the end of last week with some recommendations about a number of things related to academics, student services, pay for employees, child nutrition, and all of those things. But there need to be some of those big decisions made, and then we can begin to make some of our local decisions.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm a father of three little ones. One's in middle school, the others are in elementary school, but I got a taste of what this homeschool thing is going to be like. It seemed a little daunting. I'm sure it will get easier as we go. But any words of encouragement or any pieces of advice for people, parents like me out there?
Yeah, well, first of all, we're all in this together as parents. I have two middle school children myself. My wife, Laura, is a middle school teacher. She was doing double duty today as a teacher of all of her middle school science students, and also trying to help our two little ones at home to get started. Just I would ask for patience from parents. Teachers have been working incredibly hard since last Sunday, actually, in preparing course materials. Last week, we had 3 days where parents came through and picked up their students' belongings, everything from band instruments to backpacks and locker belongings. We handed out over 2,000 laptops for students in grades 3 through 7. We're one-to-one already in 8 through 12. So we have about 3,800 laptops out with our students right now. Um, we're probably working towards about a 2-week cycle of new content and materials being handed out and lessons being developed for our students. Now that we know this May 15th extension, our teachers can begin to plan accordingly. In terms of advice for parents, gosh, we're all, it, it's going to be really important that teachers and parents communicate with each other, and that parents, provide some routine and structure for their kids at home, but also some flexibility and patience. Was stopped in the grocery store yesterday a number of times by parents who said, "Gosh, we now appreciate our teachers even more after having just a little taste of homeschooling." But just to, know that teaching your own children at home is very different than us teaching them at school and them having their normal routines and sort of, you know, daily lives at school. It's probably harder to be teaching them at home right now, to be honest with you. I ask that parents just reach out to us for help. Maybe they're frustrated. Maybe their children are having, difficulties of some kind. You always should be in communication with your teacher for help.
Yeah, patience is the key. So there's also this issue that I've been thinking about a lot about school meals, lunches, and breakfasts that you guys are still having to provide. Is that right? What's the situation there, and what might the community want to know about that?
Yeah, you're seeing this all across the state with school systems stepping up and continuing to provide meals for their children. It was never a question for us as to whether or not we were going to do that. From the moment that we knew that the schools were closing, our child nutrition staff and our director, Monica Bullock, who was just exceptional, began to work on our plan for that. We started providing meals last Tuesday, and I think today the count was well over 6,600 meals we distributed last week. Last Friday, we had our highest one-day count of 2,142 meals. I think it was 2,242 meals, looking at my numbers. Today, even before our dinner time shift, we had almost reached that same amount, over 2,100 meals. So we expanded to 2 additional sites today, one at Valley Crucis and one at Watauga High School, which means we now have 7 sites total, 6 schools, plus Brushy Fork Baptist Church. Brushy Fork and Hardin Park are providing meals at the end of the day, and students are getting a dinner and a breakfast. And at the other site, students are getting a lunch and a dinner to take home with them. And one thing that I've been really emphasizing to everyone is that while about a third, around 30% of our students qualify for free and reduced lunch, which means we know that their family has a real financial need, these meals are for everyone. And the longer this goes on, the more of our families that are going to be in financial need. And if a family can come by and pick up 2 meals at a time for each one of their children, hopefully that will lessen some of the financial burden. And while I know our public health officials are also encouraging us to stay home when possible, at least getting out of the house and driving to the school and going through the car rider line and picking up a meal is something that you can do with your kids. But it's really important to us that we continue to take care of our children and families, and those meals are going to continue for the foreseeable future.
To go back to the online learning piece, I'm just curious of your thoughts on the quality of the education. Are we going to be able to maintain that, and how, like, any thoughts on that? Just
Yeah, well, our teachers are phenomenal, and their gift of teaching shines through right through the technology. And you know what? This may be one of those moments in time where a lot of things change, and where we see that we have resources and opportunities that maybe we've never had to take advantage of, or that needed some improvement, and now we have to make some improvements to them. And if anyone can do that, our teachers can. There are lots of great digital and online resources. They will never take the place of a live teacher, and that's why today you also saw a lot of Zoom and Google Meet sessions between teachers and students, so that live human connection between the students themselves and the student and the teacher continues. In the lower grades, where we not only don't have the number of laptops and resources that we need, we don't think that the computer or digital learning exclusively is the appropriate way for kids to be instructed. They have packets and different activities that were sent home by their teachers last week. But it is a real question as to whether or not, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to continue supplementing and enriching which right now is a little easier to do using our digital tools, or whether or not we're going to introduce new content. And one of the things that we've been talking about for years now, but which is going to come front and center and for the community, is that about a third of our children don't have access to broadband or high-speed internet in their homes, either because they can't afford it, or in many cases, because in many places throughout Watauga County, there simply is no access for it. So there's an equity issue there.
Mhm.
To try to address that, we have opened up external access points, Wi-Fi access at our school facilities, and we've also ordered 3 mobile hotspots that when we receive them, we hope to put out on school buses and park in different parts of the community. So we're try to address that equity issue there. But I hope that parents will see that the activities that their teachers have designed for their children are high quality and engaging. And in many cases, they are things that students can take and go at their own pace and continue to learn as much as they want to.
Do you have any idea what the percentage is of maybe kids or homes that don't have that access to broadband or Wi-Fi?
Yeah, we did a study about 2 years ago. So we've surveyed our families twice in the last 5 years, and the numbers have not changed very much. Which is that about 30% of them said that they do not have access to high-speed internet in their home. And so you think about many of the areas. I could name quite a few of them throughout Watauga County where there's no high-speed internet. There's no phone internet, there's no cable internet, and satellite internet is spotty at best. And there are places in the county where there simply is no cell phone service. So even though we have handed out 50 of the Sprint Foundation 1 million project free Wi-Fi hotspots, and we've ordered another 25, so we'll have 75 that we've given out, we're limited in who's been able to take them simply because of the absence of cell phone access where they live. But we're hoping that through a combination of those free Wi-Fi hotspots that we have handed out, the access that families do have in their homes, and the Wi-Fi hotspots that we have, or access points at our school, that the majority of our kids can have access. And we haven't mentioned it, Matt, but I would encourage people to go to the Watauga County Schools website, wataugaschools.org. And up in the top right-hand corner, you'll see a little tab for remote learning. And if you click on that, it will take you to 2 options, one for our teachers and one for our students and families. And under the students and families section, students and their parents can link to all of their teachers' pages for all of their assignments. And we've tried to streamline those with a common template so that they look the same, and so that parents can follow them for multiple children in grade levels. But also on there is a link to tech support. And there is, we've uploaded a visual or a aerial map or photograph of every school, and we put a big red circle around the area of the school where one can go for Wi-Fi access.
Wow.
Hopefully, all of that is going to help some. We know it won't reach everyone, and if there are those families that still just are unable to get it, they can at least go somewhere and download that work. And even if that doesn't work, then we certainly want to hear from those parents.
Wow, that's super interesting. It's amazing how we've kind of been thrust into this situation. It's almost like the future feels like the future is upon us. One thing that the chamber has started, which I think is really neat, is this little storyline called Silver Linings, and it's just this way of finding the good in this. Even though it's a terrible situation, there can be some good that's found. Any thoughts that you might have on what the silver lining is for education and for teachers and students and parents right now?
Well, I think there are several silver linings. One is, as one parent said to me today, there's a sudden and great appreciation for all the many things that public schools do in our communities and for our families and for our children. That maybe people didn't see before. Our relationships with other nonprofit agencies, our relationships with the faith-based community, our work to provide for the many needs of our families, or the ways in which, as parents like you and I, kind of begin to take school for granted, whether it's our athletic schedules or access to resources at the school, or even just through our daily routines. A little silver lining, I think, is that we come away from this with a little better appreciation of our public schools. And we talk a lot about Watauga County being the best place to learn and work, but I'm just super proud of our staff. So we have lots of silver linings within the school system of people who've stepped up to help other people with whatever jobs needed to be done. I've not heard a single person this week hesitate to do a single thing or say that something's not their job. Everyone realizes these are real extraordinary times. As you mentioned earlier, we're kind of experiencing a very rapid period of change. So another silver lining is going to be 6, 8 months from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, we're going to look back on this and realize what positive things came from it, what we were able to realize that we were able to do. But the big silver lining for me is going back to your question about food distribution. And so um, we started a faith-based collaborative several years ago where we brought together members of the faith community just to talk together about needs in our community and how we could work more closely together. That relationship wasn't always as strong as it is now. And to see now that we not only have a strong relationship, but we're able to mobilize those partnerships to not only help our own families, but all throughout the community. So the work that you're seeing where local restaurants and businesses are developing food boxes. Some of those conversations came out of our faith-based community work that started last week when one of our social workers, Denise Presnell, pulled that group together and brought in some restaurant owners. Some of those boxes of meals are being provided at our schools, in addition to the child nutrition meals for whole families to take boxes of food home. It's just great to see people who maybe otherwise their lives wouldn't cross, they wouldn't see that they have much in common, now begin to see that there's this common mission for good to take care of all the children in the community and to take care of people who are in need, or just all of us in the community. But otherwise, they wouldn't have had that opportunity. You hate to see something terrible like this happen to bring us together, but it certainly is.
That's great. So is there a place where people can go for more information, or even just to share their own stories or questions or comments or concerns about all that is going on in the community right now?
Yeah, so communication and sharing right now is probably one of the most important things that we're doing. So just a few resources for everyone. I mentioned our website earlier, wataugaschools.org. Add slash and coronavirus. That's where we put all of our up-to-date information there. You go to our website and our remote learning link. You see all of the resources that are there for students, teachers, and parents. I would also ask that if you use Twitter or folks use Twitter, to follow us at Watauga Schools. We've started a hashtag this week, WCS Remote. And already today I see lots of fun and positive images and videos of remote learning activities and kids in their homes and teachers posting messages. I think the most important thing that we can do right now to keep Boone healthy is to have a healthy perspective, to keep ourselves physically healthy, emotionally healthy, and to be able to help support everyone around us. So I would just ask everyone to find some way every day to share something good, some good news or a positive word of encouragement with someone else. And working together, we'll make sure to keep Boone healthy.
That's good stuff, Scott. Well, thank you so much for giving us your time today. Good
All
luck
right,
with everything. We'll be thinking a lot about you.
cool.
And
Well, I appreciate it, Matt. I'm thinking maybe by the end of this week or early next week, I'll have a lot more that I can share about spring break, which that's a moot point now, but graduation grades and all of that kind of stuff that may be good to share with people too.
okay, well, maybe we can jump back on next week sometime.
Yeah, just let me
All
know.
right. Okay. Thanks again, and have a great evening. We'll talk to you soon.
Tell the kids I said hello.
Will do. All righty.
All right, man. Take care.
You too. Bye.